Everyone, and welcome to campus or welcome back to campus to our alumni. I am delighted to be the moderator of a panel discussion this afternoon featuring some prominent members of our Department of Theater, Film and Media Arts. I will begin by introducing them. First, I would like to introduce to you Liz Botros. Liz is a graduate of the Ohio State Theater Department in the class of 2005. She currently serves as the manager for domestic touring and planning at the Disney Theatrical Group. Jensen Glick, a graduate teaching associate currently in the Department of Theater, Film and Media Arts. Associate Professor Amanda Fox of the Department of Theater, Film and Media Arts. And Associate Professor Janet Parrott of the Department of Theater, Film and Media Arts, and also the co-director currently of our Film Studies and Moving Image Production program. This afternoon, we're going to have a panel conversation among these distinguished panelists and me for about 45 minutes, focusing on the past, present, and the future of the department. I remind you, if you have questions, you're welcome to submit those using the Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Do take note that we will try to get to as many questions as possible during the last 15 minutes or so, but we might not be able to get to all of them. Focusing first on the past, the history of the Department of Theater. Let me begin by asking I'll ask Liz, as an undergrad alum, what was it that drew you to the Department of Theater at Ohio State?
One of the things that I absolutely loved about Ohio State in general, and especially about the theater department, was the breadth of what you learn as an undergrad in the department. I knew that I didn't want to be a performance major. I wasn't an actor by trade. And so having the opportunity to dabble in lighting and costume and acting and all of the things that were offered at Ohio State, I think really set me up for having a greater understanding when I entered the workplace of how the industry works and how things actually function between departments, because it is such a collaborative, cohesive art form. And that was the thing that really drew me to the theater department.
Thank you. And Jensen, as a current student, what drew you, or why are you here?
Well, there's a lot of answers to that question. I'm from the Columbus area, and honestly, I wanted to get out for undergrad and grad school, but OSU brought me back. I was living around in different parts of Ohio and Florida and looking for a grad school, and I think the OSU theater department really, I want to say they really took care of their grad students. There was a great work-life balance. As someone who has a spouse and had been 5 years out of undergrad, that was really important to me. And I think the productions that we do are really great. And I think our fabulous production staff and our talented MFA actors and our PhD and MA program and our talented undergrads really drove me to the program.
Mm-hmm. And Mandy and Janet, as two now longtime and distinguished members of our theater faculty, you've been around for a while. I'm curious, do you have any favorite memories of your time in the department, Mandy?
There's so many great memories over the years, of course, but I think what comes to mind today is some of our large musicals that we've done. And in particular, the one I'm thinking of today is when we went down to the Southern with the Rocky Horror Show. Mm-hmm. And there were so many students involved, and it fit like a jewel in that beautiful theater. Our students had a chance to work alongside of union stagehands. The show was designed and staged, so we would open it, preview it on campus, and then pack it all up and take it all downtown, unpack it, stage it really quick in 4 hours, fit it back in that place, and then the show. And it was sold out shows and people on their feet, and there were hundreds and hundreds of students involved. It was terrific.
And Janet.
So I came here as a filmmaker into the department, And there were a lot of students who were very interested in making moving image of all forms. And so some of the exciting work I think that has been done here has been in collaboration, sort of on the side, right, of some of the curriculum, and in collaboration with a lot of the actors. There was a sitcom that used to go on here called College with a K, and it was Joy Riley, who it came out of Joy Riley's writing class. And there were lots of actors and film students involved, and they would show it as a regular series on the television station that we have here. So yeah, that's a fun one.
Thank you. And I can't pass the opportunity to ask this question of our former and current students as well. Liz, you must have some fine memories of your time in the theater department. Can you choose your best one?
Oh my goodness. I think, you know, something we were just talking about in our little prep session here. My senior year, we did a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream that was with students and with faculty. So Mandy and I actually got to act together, which was really great. And it was a production that we ended up taking to the Buffalo Symphony and the Virginia Arts Festival in Norfolk. And we were able to perform it with a full orchestra on stage, playing the Felix Mendelssohn original score. And it was just the most wonderful time, you know, as a group of students coming together, as a group of faculty and students coming together, and then being able to sort of be in these communities with these arts festivals. That was a real highlight for me.
And Jensen, I assume you've been on campus long enough to develop some favorite memories as well.
Oh, definitely. Honestly, though, I would just say my favorite memories is our live performance. And 1 month, it'll be officially a year that we haven't had in-person live interaction with an audience. And honestly, that's one of the things I'm looking forward to get back to. One of the things I miss, and good memories.
I'm aware that according to our data from a recent year, about 80% of students who take courses in the Department of Theater are not pursuing theater majors or minors. Why do you think that theater education is so popular among non-majors, and why do you think it's so important for students at a place like Ohio State, a major land grant institution? Mandy.
Well, I'm reminded immediately of what Jensen said about the work-life balance, and what that leads me to is the idea of educating the whole person. And as a land grant institution, I think one of our charges is certainly to educate for citizenry. So whenever we perform or consume theater or any narratives, a film narrative that talks about what it is to be human, in a way, it is a radical act of empathy. And we really need right now, more than ever, people who can view the world through multiple lenses and have empathy in others.
Thank you. And Liz, do you have a perspective on that as a former student? Why would so many non-theater majors take an interest in the curriculum of the department?
You know, I think something that people forget is, and not even forget, I think there's not enough focus put on students about all the different opportunities that are available in the theater industry. You know, I think when you think about theater, you think about acting, directing, designing, sometimes producing. You know, there are 96,000 jobs on Broadway right now. And I think having a sort of singular view of what kind of career options you have tends to do a disservice to people who are really interested in taking a chance in this field. I think as someone speaking for myself at the university, like I said previously, you know, I didn't want to be a performer. I knew I wanted to do something on the business side. I didn't know what that meant. And I sort of had to forge my own specialization in business and had to seek out internships that could fit that opportunity for myself. And I think, you know, there is sort of this there is also sort of a wall for people to think that they can't come into the industry if they don't want to do acting, directing, producing, designing. And so I think, you know, there is something there in that we have to be, and this is something I do a lot when I talk to students these days, is stress how it is an open industry. There are thousands and thousands of different career paths. And I think that coupled with more information on how you get into those jobs, how you make connections in those jobs, what those jobs are, I think just opens the lens of the industry to such a wider, more diverse, greater group of people. So I think they're there. I just don't know that they all know that they are there.
Thank you. And one final question, thinking about the illustrious past of the department. This year, in fact, marks the 50th anniversary of the Department of Theater at Ohio State, 50 years since it was elevated from a small program then called a division of theater. Janet, you've been around the department for a significant portion of that history. Can you speak to its legacy in terms of what type of impact it's had in placing students on Broadway or in Hollywood or elsewhere around the world?
Yeah, we've had quite a few, we've had a lot, and I've had the pleasure of meeting many of our alums who have terrific careers on Broadway, in films, playing in theaters. They're playwrights, they are actors, performers. We have some terrific historians and people who write books. And we claim Adrian Kennedy, who's just an amazing playwright and who came from Ohio State. I don't know, I think Jensen, you can tell us about some, there are a couple costume designers who are really terrific, and Mandy, if you can tell us about some actors that you personally know who are doing some amazing work.
Yeah, what say you, Jensen and Mandy? Jensen?
Yeah, so actually I think Toni Leslie James is a BFA from OSU, and she has been nominated the last few years in the Tony Awards and recognized. We actually have a great kind of history of costume educators. So that's kind of one thing that I learned looking at grad schools, that the people that were teaching kind of came from OSU, and that's kind of where I wanted to go. So I think we do a good job of, you know, teaching great academics to teach the future generations of theater, and that's kind of what I wanted to be a part of.
And Mandy?
Yeah, we have amazing people, like Janet said, Bonnie Milligan, who's just performed recently on Broadway. We're so proud of her. We have someone, Margaret Glazer, who is one of the producers at The Simpsons. Sifiso Mazibuko just did, he was in Hamilton, he played Andrew Burr in London's West End, and he was, who I can't remember, he was Marvin Gaye, I believe, in Motown the musical in the West End. But anyway, I just want to add one other thing, and that is that I'm equally proud of the people, usually undergraduates, who've built on this theater education and gone on to do things in law and marketing and communication and public health, outreach and engagement with the public. And so we're creating this nice sturdy base for those who decide to do a related field as well.
Thank you. And Liz, let me gain your perspective here as well, as one of our alums who's contributed to our legacy with your success at Disney and Hollywood. How would you reflect on the legacy of the department in terms of the theatrical arts?
You know, I think to echo what Jensen and Mandy were just saying, I think the education base that you get at Ohio State in the theater department, like I said, really set me up for success in the establishing of foundation of the education of the industry I was going into. And I can't stress how strongly that was such a contributing factor to how far I've come thus far in my career. I've been lucky to work on Broadway now for many years, and that all comes from the fact that I understand how it works. And I learned that the seeds of that were planted at Ohio State. And I think, again, just the quality of educators, the quality of the education that we got is single-handedly responsible for propelling me into that field.
Right, thank you. Well, congratulations, all of you as members of this department, on having contributed to such an illustrious historical legacy. Let's shift now to the present, to the modern day. The Department of Theater, as it's historically been known, is in the midst of a significant and substantial transformation into a department that is now called Theater, Film, and Media Arts. That change was approved by our Board of Trustees last November, and it officially will take effect this summer. And we are now thus in the midst of the transition at the logistical level in that change. Janet, what was the impetus for that change? Why did we do it? And what does the change mean for the department?
Yeah, it seems like the right time. And with the fact that we're moving from Drake into a new facility, the Arts District, the new theater building, has been in the works for quite a long time. And there was a department of photography and cinema at the university. It went away 25 years ago. But the interest in making films, video, any sort of moving image has not gone away. And so a group of us created a major. It took several years for it to happen. And we have our first group of students graduating this spring. And it just seemed that they needed a home. It's an interdisciplinary major in studies, which is history theory. That's an interdisciplinary, meaning that it involves a lot of faculty from other departments as well as courses. And the students really need a home. The faculty need research colleagues. And we are going to have a physical space. We will have a sound stage, a post-production facility, a voiceover studio, another smaller studio space. So there will be a physical facilities for people within the theater building, and there will be, colleagues. It's what we've been doing in the Department of Theater. We have been doing various sorts of teaching film courses and editing. And it just seemed like the right time and opportunity for us to really become a single entity where we can expand some collaboration in research and practice with not only our colleagues in theater, but because of its location, our colleagues across music and dance and art. So it's exciting.
Mandy, would you like to add any additional insights on this question of why this change is being made and what difference it will make?
Absolutely. I second everything that Janet says. We find ourselves already behaving in this way. And I think that the name reflects what we stand for and what we're doing more and more. So we are training students for the present field, but also the future field. And we see theater, film, and media arts going back and forth, the lines blurring. What was it? I heard the new Broadway musical, Princess Di, is going to be premiering on Netflix. We have the live action musicals that they do on television in the springtime, and Hamilton went to Disney Plus. I'm sure, Liz, you've got the skinny on that. So we see these industries collaborating and working with each other, and it's where the field is going. And I think we're signaling, we're now reflecting what we believe in, how we're operating. So hopefully more of that.
Jensen, do you think this change will affect your experience as a current student?
I think a lot of what we do go hand in hand. And honestly, a lot of the stuff that we have done this year for our theatrical productions kind of teamed up with film and media arts to kind of help us get out there and do stuff this year. because we are unable to do live performance due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So it only makes sense to me.
And Liz, how about from your perspective at Disney, as a theater major who now works for Disney, do you see potential in the combination of theater, film, and media arts that
Yeah,
will?
I think more than ever, the lines are completely blurred. I think one of the benefits, if I can say that word, in this context is of the COVID-19 crisis that we're in, is actually further blurring the lines of what theater means and how it gets broadcast to the world. And I think we're finding more and more that accessibility and opportunity doesn't have to be limited to a theater space to be called theater. I think there are some amazing organizations and companies that have been doing incredible work during this pandemic time to put on shows and to broadcast them and to do virtual plays and all of that. And I think that's not something that's going to go away. At least I hope not, because I do think it's wildly important. As far as the Disney perspective, Mandy sort of touched on this a little bit, but I was lucky enough a couple of years ago, we filmed our production of Newsies in Los Angeles at the Hollywood Pantages. And I was very involved in that filming. And to see this show that we had worked so hard on and had such an impact on Broadway and in the touring industry, to then be translated and to be broadcast into cinemas, and now it's on Disney Plus and people can watch it at their homes, and just the reach that film has, in a way, it has a reach that we would never have been able to get just by touring it or just by showing it on Broadway. We're very lucky that it was very popular and that people wanted to see it, and it's really good in my own humble opinion. But the sort of blurred line of theater and film really collaborated there into making this very special piece of film of a theater show. And so I think, like I said, I think the lines are just so blurred, and that's for the better.
Interesting, thank you. A couple of you have alluded to the COVID-19 pandemic, which of course has disrupted all of the rhythms of life as we understood it to be normal. It has created special challenges for disciplines like theater that were so heavily based on the in-person, elbow-to-elbow experience. How have you coped as performers in particular with the restrictions stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic, the social distancing and the crowd control restrictions? How have you adapted and changed what you do to keep moving forward despite the challenges of the present era? Jensen, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, actually, a lot of our productions that we were slated to do this season were all intended to be live. So in the fall, we had 2 productions. We usually do a touring show, and then we were slated to do a devised piece from our MFA actors. And we actually partnered with our film department and filmed both of those experiences, which was really great for our undergraduate actors and our MFA actors. And a lot of our undergraduate technical students as well, just kind of working under the challenges of COVID-19 and the restrictions that we have to do. As a costume designer, my job is to be up and close and personal with people, and that's really changed a lot. So with fittings and how we go about doing that, and measurements, and just being with actors and helping them get ready has been challenging, but we have a lot of people in the field that have kind of started to pave the way for us. And I think we're taking a lot of those factors into place when we're attempting to do these. In the spring, Mandy can talk more about it, but we're doing a radio play, which is really great. And we're also doing a Zoom production as well. And then our design students actually are coming up with art installations, which is a really great way for us to brush up our design skills that we've kind of had a little vacation of last semester. And so there's a couple art installations happening in March by our first and second year scenic design students. And then the third year scenic designer and myself are designed our thesis production, and we are actually creating a art installation gallery around that. So we're building costume and scenic elements so we can still have our undergraduate students and our practicum students work on these projects and still get that experience that they need.
Thank you. And Mandy, let's hear about the radio play or whatever other innovations you've been particularly proud of.
Yeah, well, we're currently rehearsing this, and we are working with an author, Paul Bay, who is a much celebrated podcaster. He's written the Black Tapes, but what we're reimagining several episodes of his podcast, The Big Loop. And so we're going through the rehearsal process with that, and then we turn it over where they will go and do socially distanced recording, and then it will go into post for sound designers to add their bit to it. Then someone is building a website, and they'll go on the website and people will be able to view it from that. And of course, Paul Bay will come and do a public event, which is open to the public in April. Stay tuned. Yeah, so that's been really an interesting process. And it sort of, we're leaning toward the future and this idea of a narration voice acting minor. So there's really some kind of lemonade that's being made from these adjustments that we've made. And it's really a fascinating time.
Mm-hmm. And Janet, we all know that the Department of Theater involves performance, but also non-performance-based creative scholarship. Can you speak to how the creative scholarship has been adapted for the pandemic era?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about a little bit that our film folks did. And we collaborated, the documentary class, the documentary making class, collaborated with the school tour, which was As You Like It. And they couldn't go into the schools. We really needed a partner to make some work. And so we shot it outside. And it's still in post-production, but we were able to work with the scenic designer, became the location scout, and was able to provide props and costumes, did beautiful costumes for the production. And we were outside shooting most of the fall, which was really great. It gave all of us an opportunity to work together. And then Digi in the spring, the showing of student work that I usually do at the Wexner Center, there'll be a shortened version of that on the website in March for 2 weeks, starting March 12th. And then I'm also taking some of that work. I've always wanted to project on the building, on the fly space at Drake. And so on the 16th of March, we'll have a live event. We'll be projecting work that students are making across several departments, across dance and art and theater. We'll be projecting on the building, and we're going to also partner with Alex Olszewski and his students doing work in a more expansive media way. So we'll have an event outdoors. It might be a little chilly, but we'll do an event outside. So that's exciting.
Good, thank you. And one other question about the theater department of today. How does it compare to other departments from other programs across the country? What sets our program apart? How would you define its Ohio State identity? Mandy, what do you think?
Well, I think we offer a healthy dose of traditional training. And as Liz was saying, traditional training, a bite here and a bite there on the undergraduate level to get a really great foundation. In addition to that, we have a lab series for undergraduates where they can create their own work. So that's great. And also on the grad level, there's the creation of new work. Now, one of the things, takes many forms, and one of them is outreach and engagement, which I think is a really important area in the future of theater, which is partnering with other arts organizations, but also non-arts organizations, and moving together toward the same end. So our students come out with this sort of idea of working with a community or a corporate partner, and what the kind of matrix of those needs are and how to move forward. So I think that's highly unusual. And of course, we're going to have this amazing facility. So.
Right, thank you. Janet, do you have a perspective on that question?
You know,
What sets our department apart?
yeah, you know, now our department is expanded, right? It's we've always done this expansive work, but now we actually have a title to it, and that sort of matches what we're doing. We very deliberately have a BA for all of our undergraduate programs, and because we want to be able to build a strong foundation for our students. We've had a lot of students going on to really great graduate programs across the board. And I think we're able to, at Ohio State, we are able to offer students a really strong foundation in the arts, but also in the liberal arts. So I think that's important to us. I think the future of this department and what we can do by being on High Street, being close to the Wexner Center, which is a really special, great institution that we have, being close to ACAD, right, the Advanced Computing Center for the Arts and Design, being close to dance and music and art administration. We will just have this great synergy all in a row along High Street, where there are opportunities for collaboration. Students find these, you know, we can create some of this, but I think by just having facilities and creating some space, students will find some of those collaborations, and they're the ones that are going to take the art form forward in all of these art forms, right? And it reflects the world, because instead of just saying you're going to study theater, you're just going to study film, you're just going to study art, here's this opportunity to interact with other people, other artists, other researchers in ways that they will do in the world.
Thank you. And your allusions to the future, of course, are relevant and perfectly appropriate, because as we know, the Department of Theater is about to undergo a very substantial transition in its physical location on campus. Since the department was created in the early 70s, its home has been the Drake Union over along the Olentangy River, but that is about to change. Since 2009, and there's a graphic on the screen here for our viewers to see. Since 2009, the College of Arts and Sciences and the university have invested some $40 million to renovate arts facilities on the eastern edge of the Oval, in particular in Hopkins Hall and in Sullivan Hall. And now, literally as we speak, we are reimagining the so-called front door of our campus at 15th and High with the Arts District, which is an ongoing current $160 million investment to create state-of-the-art facilities for music, theater, film, and media arts. The new facility for the Department of Theater, Film, and Media Arts is currently under construction, and the facility is scheduled to open in early 2023. It will sit right next door to a brand new building for the School of Music and adjacent to the Wexner Center for the Arts. Moving forward, naturally, the question is, how will a brand new high-profile facility located in the heart of the Arts District transform the academic department of theater, film, and media arts? Mandy, what do you expect to happen?
So many wonderful things. I cannot wait. One of those things, just something you might not think about as a civilian, would be that a lot of the rehearsal studios are the same size as the stage. And therefore, as a director, you can stage things not to scale, but stage them as they will actually need to be placed upon the stage. And of course, another thing that just as Janet was saying, students finding their way into these collaborations that we have. It's really my dream for students to feel as comfortable in our building on Friday night, coming to see a play, knowing that's an option, as they are on Monday morning, going to documentary film class, or I want it to be their place where they can come and participate in or consume art.
Thank you. And Jensen, from the student perspective, the graduate student perspective, what are you thinking about this relocation?
Just kind of piggyback off what Mandy was saying. I think it really brings us back into the middle of campus. Currently, we love the Drake. It's our home. It's been our home for so long. But I think it's going to make us more relevant with the dance department and music department and visual arts departments there, more opportunities for collaboration. As a designer, I'm excited for the prospects of the future of what our future grad designers will be able to do and new challenges in the spaces. We've kind of tried everything in these spaces, so I'm excited for them to try new things in the new spaces and how that all works. So it's exciting.
Thank you. And your talk of excitement leads me to wonder, in general, what is it that excites you the most about the future of the Department of Theater, Film, and Media Arts? Liz, as an alum, do you have a perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this expansion and this sort of integration between the art forms is so exciting and so remarkable. And, you know, the biggest benefit of going to a school like Ohio State is its size. You know, you have access to everything at Ohio State, every kind of student, every kind of professor, every kind of organization, and to sort of put all of the arts programs in the same breathing space is only going to expand that even further. And I think that just makes for so many more interesting arts professionals, so many arts professionals who are more grounded in the different kinds of art that is happening around the world and in Columbus and, you know, around the country. So I think it's a hugely exciting future for Ohio State's arts programs that this is happening, and that they will have the spaces to then, you know, double down on having these relationships with each other and being able to collaborate more and being able to sort of draw into each other's worlds more. I think that's just a huge, huge benefit.
Janet, what excites you?
Parking. It's really, you know, we are literally in the backyard of the university. I mean, backyard of the stadium. I'm looking out my window right now and I can see this beautiful river, but we do have this geographic challenge, and that not always, people don't always want to come at night to see a show to the Drake. It seems far away. And so I'm very excited that we'll be near some parking garages, that we will be very visible on High Street, right, along with some of the other arts. And so that I think is terrific. It's also, it also speaks to the support from the university, that the arts really are the front door now of High Street, the front door of the university. And, you know, we are a lot more, Ohio State is a lot more than just, you know, one thing, and then just football, then just, you know, whatever, right? The arts are a very important part. And so I'm gratified that there has been this continued support from the administration, from the university, to showcase what our students and faculty are doing.
Thank you. A note to our audience, please don't forget that if you'd like to pose a question for our panelists, you can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And in our final minutes together here, we will try to get to as many questions from you as possible. So go ahead and post those questions, and we will try to incorporate them in our discussion. One question from our audience, if I can transition that way. Janet, will you please explain the distinction between the moving image production program and the film studies program? And in particular, explain why an undergrad in film studies might get limited practical experience in filmmaking.
Sure. Yeah, so we have two undergraduate programs in film. We have several minors as well, but film studies is history theory, and students do have an opportunity to do some of the making classes. But film studies is really about history theory, some criticism. The MIP, moving image production, is production. And students are working in areas of experimental work, fiction and nonfiction work, and animation. So the other thing that we're doing is expanding. I mean, this is something I'm working with a lot of our alums on, is really looking at opportunities for our students in bigger cities that really want to go into the industry, that have opportunities, internship opportunities. So whether that's in New York or Georgia or LA, we are exploring and expanding some of those programs. But if somebody's a film studies major, they may not get a chance to do anything very large. We also don't have large production-wise. We also, internally on campus, we don't have any sort of soundstage at the moment. So we will in the new facilities, the new building. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We've gotten a couple of questions from the audience about diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is the department doing to incorporate equity and inclusion concerns or anti-racism in the curricular or research and creative expression missions? Janet, can you speak to that?
Yeah, in fact, we have a committee that is devoted to looking at practices within our own department and across the university about, we're looking at some of our curriculum and how we can expand it, how we can expand play selections. Mandy might also be able to give us some information about recruiting as well, and other areas. But we're being very deliberate about and intentional about looking at the plays and the curriculum that we do present. This last year, we had signed on to what is called the Jubilee, and it was a pledge to do plays by unrepresented groups. And we had a really great season figured out, and then we were hit by COVID. And so this is not something that we just decided to do now. We've been working on it. We brought in Ted Lange to direct Red Velvet last February, a year ago this time. That Red Velvet is about Ira Aldridge, a very famous African-American actor. We brought in Carlisle Brown to do his one-man show called Acting Black. And we are really looking at opportunities for a broader audience. So, Mandy, I'm sure you can.
Yeah, Mandy, please.
Absolutely. This is an issue that we consider to be an emergency in the theater department. We're working closely with our graduate students to tell us what they're seeing, what they're feeling, what they want, to speak to us candidly and frankly. And they have done a great job of that. We need to do more, but we're taking some actions. Like Janet said, the Diversity and Inclusion Committee has been in existence for 3 or 4 years. And they're doing a lot of great work. One of the things that they did recently was we worked together to create, people threw in all the great plays that they know, and this list is growing, of BIPOC authored plays and plays about BIPOC issues. Those are going in the curriculum. They're going in the season. We're also looking at casting as something where we can have color conscious casting and put people of color in roles that weren't necessarily written for people of color, but that must be balanced with roles that were written for people of color, so that those stories and other less represented groups we need to lift up. So those are in our curriculum, they're in our season, which is part of our curriculum. Faculty are getting lots of training, lots of extended training on this. And also, I'm in a faculty search right now. Every faculty search is getting training by marvelous Wendy Smooth, about how to realize what we are bringing to the situation, what our assumptions might be, and how to create job ads that don't exclude people. So anyway, I won't get all riled up further, but yes. And if any alumni have any suggestions or anything, reach out.
It's a good topic to get riled up about.
Sorry.
That's okay. Jensen, do you have a perspective as a student on this topic of equity and inclusion?
I think the year of 2020 was really 2020 vision for everybody in theater as a whole, not just in our department, but how we treat diversity, equity, inclusion with casting, with production staff, with roles and participation, voices, playwrights, authors. And I think we as an art form are learning how to adapt. And I think our department are taking the steps forward. I think the work is never done and we can always do more. And I think we're striving to do that within our department. It's a lot of work and I think we're all here to do it. And so that's one thing I'm excited about for OSU.
Another panelist asked a specific question about the document titled "We See You, White American Theater." Has that been discussed in the Department of Theater? And if so, where has the discussion gone?
More discussion needs to happen. I think this is required reading for everyone. So if you're listening, just Google it and have a read. I think that some of the issues in the document are being absolutely addressed. But like Jensen says, living and breathing anti-racist curriculum construction and a life in general is a constant ongoing battle. So it is a piece that could take a lifetime to continue to try again to be worthy of what that document suggests. More needs to be done.
Thank you. Another question from a viewer is when the new building will be open and when can we come see it? When can we come visit it? Part of that answer is very easy. Our projected date of building completion is February 2023, 2 years from right now. Of course, in such matters as construction of new facilities, there are no guarantees or promises, but that is our best target. We do have some plans, general, but quickly becoming specific about a grand opening of some sort for this facility. Janet or Mandy, can you speak to those plans for opening the building?
Yeah, there has been some discussions amongst the arts units about, this is not just an opening of the Department of Theater, Film, and Media Arts. It's the School of Music, right? They also have this great addition onto their building. But it's not just the opening of these two physical spaces. It's about, we're really looking to present a celebration of all of the arts on campus. Do you have anything to add, Mandy?
No, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Very good. Another question from our audience. How did the updates to the program that you've talked about, how do you expect them to transform the department's reputation on the local level and on the international level? Who'd like to tackle that question?
Well, on the local level, Janet sort of hit on something very basic, which is you can come here, you can park your car here. One of my desires is to shortly after we open, within the first couple of years, I would love for us to host the International Thespian Conference. What that does is it brings, hundreds, thousands, I don't know, hundreds, I guess, of young, usually high school, and their teachers and their families, they coming to our facilities. And I remember being in high school and doing that. And I carried a great affection for the schools that hosted those things. And I think that would be an excellent launch for us. one of the many launches, people would know how to get here. They would know that they're welcome. They would know where to park. And yeah, so I guess that kind of covers both of those in a way. Yeah, I don't know.
Janet?
Yeah, I have two thoughts about this to expand on what Mandy is saying. I think that we have an opportunity. You know, we will have a great facility that I was in talks with an alum in New York a year and a half ago about the possibility of her bringing her company to this new facility, or to our, I mean, they could happen now, right? Into one of our theaters over the summer. We now have year-round staff. And so it's cheaper for them to come here and stay as opposed to rent spaces in New York. And then the deal would be premiere your work here, or at least do a showing here. And so when looking at the new building, we will have a soundstage, we'll have theaters, we'll have rehearsal spaces, and the opportunity to present high school kids, to present professionals, you know, in the summertime, to really workshop work, have conferences. I think it's a really great opportunity. I also got an email just last night from an alum who lives internationally, and a lot of our alums that, I mean, recently I've been in connection to quite a few of our alums in the film industry, and they are very excited about connecting with our department in every, you know, with everybody, not just with the film students. And so we are working on those relationships, and we're going to see where they end up.
Mm-hmm. And Liz, from your perspective in the entertainment industry, do you have insights on how the kind of changes underway and contemplated for the department will change, hopefully elevate its international reach?
Yeah, I think, you know, something that Janet was just saying that really just struck me, I think, is an activation of alumni as well. I think, again, sort of having this cohesive space for all of the arts and science programs to come together. I think being able to activate a very large group of alumni who, you know, as we discussed a little bit earlier, have branched into many different facets of the arts and other fields as well. I think having a space for them to also co-collaborate on the alumni side as well, I think, again, just sort of opens up that scope larger and larger, because, you know, I have lived in New York a very, very long time, and you inevitably just always meet people from Ohio State. Like, we're just always around, which is the best thing ever. And you know, that happens when I travel abroad. That happens when I travel around the country to see my tours. You know, our reach at Ohio State is enormous, and that is the greatest gift that Ohio State has to give to the student population. And I think being able to, like I said, activate that group of people to bring back into the university the things that we have learned and our experiences back into the programs that helped us get to where we are, I think is going to be really huge.
And one final question, time will allow here from our audience. How can alumni help fund the new theater building? Janet, do you have an answer on that?
I'm sorry, did you say how can they help fund?
Fund, yes.
Fund. So that's a great question. And there are huge needs for the new facility. And they range from equipment to the naming of the building, the naming of spaces. And so that's a connection with Peter, that's a connection to advancement. But there's lots of opportunities to, you know, name rooms, name rehearsal studios, right? Name a theater, name the soundstage. I don't know. In fact, I don't know what's actually available, but at the moment, because some of them may have already been named, but the building hasn't. So anyway, Mandy has her hand up and she may have some things to add.
Mandy, please.
Yes. Well, we one of the realities is that you can't get everything you want. And so as amazing as the building is going to be, we're also looking a little bit down the road at a small black box theater. So we've left the footprint for that black box theater. And the hope is that soon we'll be able to build that. So those of you who are listening who know how special it is to be able to work in a black box theater, that might be something shortly down the road. I believe you're going to be getting, they're going to share more resources and the information and the follow-up to this webinar should somebody want to give.
Yeah, it sounds in summary like there are numerous opportunities for alums who wish to support this project to make gifts. If naming rights are in interest, then naming rights can be discussed for rooms or suites or theaters or indeed the building. And anyone who is so interested hopefully will notify one of the development officers for follow-up conversation. We have just a couple of minutes left. I want to give each of our 4 distinguished panelists at least a few seconds, let's say 25 to 30 seconds for any final thoughts. Jensen, would you like to lead?
Yeah, that would be great. I just want to say that this is my final semester at OSU. I've had a great time here. Anyone who's looking to come to OSU, this is a great grad program, a great undergrad program. We've got a lot of exciting things happening. We've got a new chair coming in next year. We've got a new building coming in 2 years. And I think there's a lot of change, and theater's only survived because of adapting and change. So I think it's exciting.
Thank you. And Liz?
You know, I just want to say again to echo something that I was talking about earlier, to, you know, especially if you're looking for a career in the arts, to not limit yourself to thinking about something specific. I think we're living in such a wonderfully fluid time that you can really, it's a choose your own adventure. And I think using the resources of Ohio State as best you can and to their fullest potentials, you know, while you're a student, when you graduate, as an alumni, as an industry professional, it's just wonderful. And, you know, being an Ohio State alumni never leaves you. And that's something that's really, really special about the school, that, you know, about attending Ohio State, about attending this theater program in particular. And, you know, it's just, this is all so very exciting. And I can't wait to come see the new building when it's done.
Mandy?
I'll just say that you had talked earlier about legacy. And to me, legacy is people. And legacy are the moments that we have together in the studio, in the classroom, with colleagues, building curriculum. And so those are the things that I am so grateful for. And I know there are many people on this webinar who understand what that feels like. So that's an important part of the Ohio State family. And I'm just really grateful for that.
Thank you. And last but not least, Janet. Final thoughts?
This has been, it's been such a great pleasure to see the development of programs and this building. The building has been in conversation. I've been in meetings for like 12 years about this building. And so the fact that people persisted, that it's really coming about with a new name, with new programs, it's very, very exciting. And so I look forward to, I just look forward to the work and the research that our students and faculty are doing. And I'm really, really pleased to have been a part of this journey. And I'm very excited about having a new chair. And it's going to be a great future.
Well, in close, I would like to thank each of our 4 panelists for their contributions this afternoon. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I'd like to thank our back of the house team led by Clara Davison of our Office of Development for all of their logistical work in handling the Zoom broadcast. And most of all, I would like to thank each and every member of our audience for the interest you've shown by being here with us and listening to our dreams and visions about the future of this very powerful department. Thank you for your support. Stay healthy in these troubling times. Be well and stay connected to our campus. Thank you.